What's up, good people of the world? My name is Tanner, Contractor Secrets Podcast. And in this episode, I'm going to give you 3 steps to help you get out of a sales slump. Now, you obviously are either in a sales slump or you're coming out of one or you're going into one, right? Sales slumps are really normal. I mean, ultimately, it happens. And there's a few reasons why it happens. I want to get into the psychology behind why it happens, and then I want to help you prevent it from happening. But if you're in one, stay tuned because I'm going to give you some tips on how to get out of one. So the first thing is a sales slump happens generally because you can't control everything, right? I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. And you could try to blame the economy and you can try to blame everything outside of your internal operations. And one habit that I would definitely make sure that you get out of is blaming anyone or anything for anything, right? Every time something happens, take extreme ownership over that, internalize it, and really just focus on what you can control, and then everything else will fall into place. There's so many reasons why you could go a week or 2 weeks, or even sometimes 3, 4 weeks without capitalizing, without getting a win, without getting a sale. And those reasons will never be fully defined. There's so many external factors that could be taking place. But more importantly, the thing for you to understand is that I believe in the law of averages. I believe that constant inputs, consistently done over time, persistent with consistency and a little bit of faith, you will bring forward the resources that you need to achieve your goal. I do believe that there's a part within us when it comes to intent that takes big precedent over random results. And what do I mean by that? Well, let me first explain to you this. If you're a one-man operation, this is a very dangerous position to be in when it comes to sales. And I'll tell you why. It's because of the motivating factors to utilize the resources and utilize resourcefulness to generate business from seemingly out of nowhere. And what I mean by that is if it's only you, or maybe you and a family member, or you and a family friend doing work together, there's not as much pressure as someone who has employees to find the business and utilize sales strategy and utilize heart to heart communication to customers to get them to move forward. I'll be honest with you and say that early on in my business, uh, it would be Thursday at 5 o'clock and there would be no work for Monday. And I would intentionally do whatever I can to make sure that my guys would take their time on the jobs that they were doing, simply because I was scared that they wouldn't have work Monday. But I knew that if I can get work Monday, I would find a job for Tuesday. And that was a certain desire that I had in me, which activated my reticular activating system to seek out opportunity and to create opportunity out of what seemed like thin air. It wasn't a blame game. I didn't blame the leads. I didn't blame, the economy. I didn't blame the people. I didn't call people tire kickers or cheap, even though in some cases they are. I just didn't buy into the blame game. I bought into what can I do to generate business for my company. This is a strategy that the best business owners have learned, they've adopted, and they draw on whenever they need work. And ultimately, when you scale your business, you need to be able to teach this skill set to your salespeople. You have got to be the best salesperson in your company if you want to win. And really, the best salespeople aren't the ones that just wait around for business. They're the ones that create the opportunity. They create the business. They build the schedule. They allow they utilize their innate ability to persuade customers to move forward with them, and they do it consistently and they do it often. Now, here's the deal. If you're a one-man operation, right, you don't have that pressure. Okay, maybe you're a 1 to 2 man operation. You don't have that pressure. But let me tell you this, I draw on that pressure every single day. I have 4 crews operating full time. We need at least 27 to 30 projects a month. Okay, that's 1 project per day being sold in order to keep our teams busy. Now, how does someone accomplish that? And I'm going to be honest with you and say it takes time. But right now, you might not be in a position where you need that much work. You just need first enough work to sustain yourself. And that's a good thing. But I want you to operate with utilizing number one, leverage. Okay. So we're going to utilize leverage. And that leverage is number one, whatever your goal is that you're striving toward. Now, that goal might be a legacy. That goal might be a freedom machine. That goal might be finally feeling the feeling of what business entrepreneurship feels like, the feeling that we're all striving toward, right? The ability to be free from the 9 to 5, to be free from, you know, bureaucracy or having someone over your shoulders breathing down your neck, whatever that is, right? We're striving toward that freedom. So that leverage is going to pull you to make the phone calls, right? To follow up with the customers, right? To persuade in a way that is a fearless approach to garnishing business. So when I say that, you're in pursuit of that, anything in your way stands no chance. If the why is great, the how will figure itself out, right? So ultimately, you got to have something pulling you. You're going to use leverage for that. But here's the deal. When I say leverage, my thing is the strongest leverage that I draw on is the fact that I made promises to my team members. And I said, hey, I'm going to make sure you have work. I know the severity of the situation. You need work to provide for your family. And I'm going to make sure that that happens. And I will make the calls. I will do the follow-ups. I will sound, I will get aggressive if needed to, because I'm protecting my kingdom, right? And I think that that needs to be the mindset of a business owner, is you are protecting your kingdom. And if you think about a kingdom back in the day, they would do everything they could to protect their kingdom, because I want you to understand that mediocrity, scarcity is coming your way and it wants to overtake your kingdom. It's like weeds entering into a garden. You need to stand guard at your kingdom, and that is in the form of sales. And that's the beautiful aspect of sales, when those credit card deposits are coming in, when those, drip jobs users, when you get those emojis in your email, you know what I'm talking about, the ones that let you know that you just want a job. That's the advancement of the mission, the advancement of the kingdom. It's one more job, it's one more opportunity to build and to grow and to inspire and to create your impact on the world, right? So sales is such a beautiful thing because it moves the needle. The very essence of sales is serving others, which I love. And if you adopt that mindset, it's easy to get a little aggressive. It's easy to make the phone calls. It's easy to be resourceful. And ultimately, the impact that I create for my employees is really what's driving me to have this standard of the sales that I need. So again, let's go back to really the mindset is no blaming, right? Don't blame anyone but yourself. Take extreme accountability and ownership of why you're in the sales slump or why things aren't falling into place. Number two, I want you to audit your leverage. Okay. I want you to audit your leverage. I want you to audit what's pulling you outside of your own motivations, right? I know you need to make money. I know it's your business and I know you have bills to pay, but let me tell you something. That is not strong enough. Whenever I think of why I want to do great things, or why I wake up every day and do this podcast, and why I wake up every day and sacrifice countless hours, stress, time, I don't do it just so I can make a bunch of money. And I think early on, maybe when I was 20, the motivation was, yeah, I want to make a bunch of money, you know. But for me, what I learned is that, man, the motivation is what my contribution does for everyone else, my family, my friends, my employees. So important. Um, I think there's power in pursuing something when it's not just you, So audit your leverage, identify what it is that you're striving for, and then ultimately assign a benefit that someone else is going to receive if you do achieve that thing. I remember those days. I alluded to Thursday, 5 o'clock, no work on the job, no jobs on the schedule for next week for my team. And I remember, and I'm going to give you those three things that I talked about in the beginning of the video right now, but I remember not having any work on the schedule and thinking to myself, what am I going to do? How could I face my team and say, hey guys, we don't have any work on the schedule? And really what that created in me was a unrelenting will to find the work, because my mission was great and I wasn't going to have that conversation. And I used the leverage of the fear of having that conversation. I just wasn't going to have it. So ultimately, if you're in that position, this episode is for you. Or if you've been in that position, I want to share with you my strategy. Now, number one, I'm going to tell you the most important element of sales is organization, right? And yes, drip jobs, CRM, contact, relationship management, customer relationship management. And the reason why this is important is simply because if you need to access information like a previous proposal, customer information, phone number, email, address, right? If you need to access this in a moment's notice and you don't have a system that has this stuff organized for you, you won't win. Okay. And that's why my passion is obviously drip jobs and creating systems that allow, business owners to get from point A to point B very fast. This is an important element. I remember when I worked at the car dealership and I felt if you want to talk sales slump, go work for a car dealership. You could go a week, 2 weeks without selling a car, not making any money. Okay. No one even walking into the dealership, and you have far less control than you do as a business owner. And that's a sales slump. But one thing I did have in the car dealership was a CRM, and I could reference all of those customers that did come in and do a test drive with me. And I had their phone numbers and I had notes and I had different things that I could use as leverage in that interaction, right? To contact them and to have a strategic follow up, not just a, hey, how are you? It's Tanner from Toyota just reaching out to you. It's, hey, it's Tanner. Hey, did you wind up purchasing that Altima? I know that you'd been deciding between the Camry and the Altima, and I wanted to let you know that we just got a red Camry in. I know you said that's what you were looking for, and it has leather seats, and it has the Bluetooth or whatever the feature was that they were interested in, right? And that gave me a better shot to win because I had the notes, I had the details, and when I had that spark of inspiration to make the phone call, I could easily access the information because that is an effort task. That is like working out, dude. Like, people don't work out because it's hard to get there. It's almost like, you need to work out and you go to work out, or you plan to work out, and you have to find your shoes. Okay. So now you're running around the house looking for your shoes, and then you have to find your keys, and you're running around the house looking for your keys. And then you need your water bottle, and you're running around the house looking for the water bottle. And by the time you fall into the third or fourth obstacle, working out just doesn't seem as important anymore. So having data in front of you to be able to make that call, to reference those notes, makes the call, it makes the action that much easier. And I can't describe it any better than you need it at your fingertips. Okay. Because following up needs to be done often, and it needs to be done with a strategic approach, not just a random, hey, how you doing? Okay. So that's number one. If you're in a sales slump, you need to have a CRM. And if you have a CRM, good news. Let's go to number two. You need to follow up with purpose. Now, here's the deal. I want you to understand that we talked a little bit about leverage earlier, and leverage is what I use to sell my projects. Number one, I'm all about honesty. I'm all about integrity. I want my customers to feel that. I'll never take advantage of someone. I'll never manipulate someone to get a project. I will get aggressive, right? And I'll get aggressive in a let's say in a it's almost like if you had a horse that was thirsty in the desert and they weren't drinking the water, I'm going to get aggressive. I'm going to grab that horse and I'm going to pull it toward the water, because number one, I know that I'm taking that horse to the destination that's going to benefit them, right? That's what I mean by aggression in sales. So I will get aggressive. I will claim my stake toward the customers to why we are that company for them. But generally speaking, I'm using that leverage and I'm following up with purpose. And when I call a customer and I have no work, I think one of the best things you could do is be honest. I think one of the best things you could do when you're face to face with a customer and you get that estimate is to look them in the eye and say, "Hey, I need this job. I need this job. My team needs this job. I'll do a great job for you. I promise." When I'm making a follow-up call, that call is, "Mr. Jones, listen, we spoke the other day. Let me ask you this. Do you feel like, numbers aside, that we would do a great job for you?" "Yes, I do, Tanner. I mean, you called us for a reason. Let me ask you this. I'll be honest with you and say I need this job. My team, we have a gap in our schedule. We had someone that needed to reschedule, and I'm without work for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and I'd love to do your job. If I will you, and I want you to understand the if I will you approach. So if I do something, will you do something, right? I never give a discount just to give a discount. I give a discount because it's mutually beneficial. In other words, you don't want to be a company that just gives away things. And I get a little backlash from this for giving out discounts. But really, I use discounts as leverage. Everyone wants to feel, and I know this for a bona fide fact, everyone wants to feel like they're getting the best end of the deal, right? In any buying interaction in the history of mankind, the person purchasing feels like they're getting more value than what they're giving. And I know that to be true. So I utilize that psychology as leverage. And I say, if I take $250 off this proposal, will you allow us to get you scheduled in for Tuesday? What does that do? Well, that creates a parameter for the customer that says if he doesn't allow that to be done, he won't get the discount. And it's very important for you to understand that strategic following up is so important, right? Because I'm giving him an offer within the offer, right? So there's a sub offer there, right? The first offer is me painting for them. The second offer is me giving him an incentive to allow us to paint within the parameters that I'm offering, which is Tuesday. So it's important for you to understand that you're going to use that leverage, but you're going to be honest and have a strategic follow-up, okay? Very, very, very important. Now, number 3. Now, this is my last point on this. If you're in a sales slump, and I want you to understand that business is the ultimate spiritual journey. And I believe a few elements of spirituality are energy and momentum. You know, if you listen to any of my podcasts with my good friend Alex Corral, he is an abundance of energy. He's focused on this. It's allowed him to garnish so much success in his cabinet refinishing business. And I want you to understand that momentum is so important in sales. Let me ask you this. Have you ever sold a really big job, or you closed a really big deal, and like you have this euphoric feeling, right? And that feeling is so great that it's almost like you feel the progress, you accomplish something. You might even put on a song that reminds you of when you first started, and you just like you feel great, right? Now imagine on the way, after getting that notification that you sold a $15,000 or $20,000 job, on the way in the car, you're heading to an estimate, right? And here's the magic of this is you go to the estimate and you're like floating on air, like everything's coming out perfectly. You're just like, you're relaxed, like you're building so much rapport with the person, and you wind up selling that one. And it's like, what the heck? Like, I was just in a major sales slump, and now I just closed like 2 huge jobs. And, maybe you have another estimate after that, and you're just having a momentum day. And I want you to understand that you need to capitalize on that approach there, that energy there that exists, but it's very hard to drum that up from nothing. The inertia, right? The initial energy is so hard to generate from nothing. Okay. So there's been times where I would actually almost cut my price in half. And I would do this strategically because the first responsibility that I have to my team is to make sure that they're busy. So even if I don't make money, but there's enough money on the job for them to make money, hey, guess what? That's going to kick it off. I just need a signature. I just need my guys busy right now, right? So I might have a job that's $5,000 that I quoted where it's a 3-day job, but guess what? My cost for that job might only be $2,500 and then $500 for the product. So here, guess what, Mr. Jones, you know what? We could use the work. I'm going to give you an amazing deal. I have never done this before, but I'll sell you the job for $3,000 if you let me start Tuesday. Why? Because you don't want your team without work. And that goes for subcontractors too, because if they are uncertain about your ability to provide work, guess what they're going to do? Go somewhere else. So it's so important for you to understand this game and not let money lead you, but understand the dynamics behind how momentum and leverage can lead you to the promised land. And I wish there was an easier way for me to describe this. It has to be something that you just internalize, but you've experienced momentum in sales. You understand that there's some power there that's very hard to describe, can't be quantified, it's intangible. But let me tell you something, it exists and it's a beautiful thing. But you need to understand how to first get that initial energy up, get that momentum going. And that might mean cut your price in half just to get that job. If it's been 2 weeks, sell the job at cost. Get your team moving again, right? It gives you maybe a 3 to 4 day window to where you can build momentum. Because let me tell you something, people will feel that you are desperate, and that is hurting you, because there's a such thing as downward momentum. There's a such thing of it. I've experienced it. I've seen it. Okay. You could tell when someone's desperate for work. And guess what? You will lose more jobs than you normally would, right? I mean, it just happens, right? And you want people to feel calm. You want them to make informed decisions, and you want to come with an energy of poise. Okay. So I want you to understand that there's 3 components here that are so important for you to understand when it comes to a sales slump. Number 1, you got to be organized, and you need to be able to access information in order to take important actions with people. And this isn't just for sales. This is also for leads. So when you have leads, you need to be able to follow up those leads. You need to be able to encourage those leads to move forward in the pipeline. It's so important. So you could be in an appointment slump. You could be in any sort of slump. It's your job to first have a control center where you can manage this information, where you can follow up and you can move that customer through the pipeline. And that is what the psychology behind why we built Drip Jobs the way we did, was simply for this initial reason, which was to help you with sales. The next element of this, very important, okay, is a strategic follow-up, not just a general follow-up, right? A strategic follow-up has strategy, and that strategy should be, I am calling to get X result. What would make my customer move forward based on that notion there? And in my example, it was, hey, I'm calling because I have a wide open window between Tuesday and Friday, and I need an opportunity. I need to keep my team busy. So that strategic follow-up is, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, if I do something for you, would you do something for me? That's how business should work. It should be a mutual benefit, right? That's the best business interactions, is when it's mutually beneficial, where you're happy as the business owner and the customer's happy as the customer. And then last, which I believe, ultimately is the most important, guys, get this, okay? Ultimately, when it comes to sales slumps, it's very, very, very important for you to understand this concept here, is that energy, momentum, they can work in your favor. Utilize these elements as leverage, and understand when you're in a negative sales slump, you're just on a downward momentum, kind of like a snowball picking up steam. And what I want you to do is I want you to divert off course, right? You need to shake things up. And then what I want you to do is begin the process of going back up that mountain. And ultimately, you will find that you will build up some steam, right? And that might mean taking a job at cost, lowering your price, get your team busy, whether that's employees or subcontractors, but that's the game we play. So being in a sales slump, getting out of a sales slump, okay? And understanding the next time you find yourself in one, when things are a little slow, not panicking, understand everything is cyclical. You're playing a game of averages, okay? And your job is to get better in those sales slump Think of everything as a blessing, because without sales slumps, you wouldn't have to draw on your resourcefulness, which would ultimately make you a better leader, salesperson, and business owner. This is the Contractor Secrets Podcast. I hope you got some value out of this one. If you'd like to try out Drip Jobs, I'd love to have you come to a 14-day free trial. But not only that, visit us for a demo. Go on dripjobs.com, click book a demo. You'll be able to sit with our account executive. We'll go through the entire app with you. There's no hard selling here. We're going to show you the value. We're going to show you the components of the software, right? I get a lot of people, they say, Tanner, I'm not ready for this yet. I don't think I'm going to be ready for Drip Jobs. Let me tell you something. You want to get Drip Jobs at any stage of your business, whether you're a single owner operator, whether you just started the business, whether you're a scaling business, it doesn't matter. If you interact with human beings, which you do, you need a CRM. And the worst thing is to be growing a business and then having to change CRMs. That's very painful. We don't want you to have to do that. So come check it out. We have some cool incentives if you're just starting your business. We have the Drip Jobs Startup Program, which is our program. It's my way of giving back, where you get 4 months of Drip Jobs for free if you just started your business. So check that out. You can find that on dripjobs.com. Thank you for listening. We'll see you on the next episode.